Okay, so I gave it a lot of thought, and I think it would be best for the purpose of the lab, maybe just to keep it as it is without removing anything from here. Okay, we have our 3 steps, we're the 4th, and I'm going to try to cut this close to the line. Okay, so I'm just going to place the this blade closer, and because I don't have an opportunity to actually make this cutter parallel to the face, I'm just gonna start the cutting a little bit far from where we actually have our line, so that any siding that we might have from the lack of parallelism that we have from the tool and the reference face could be eventually cut. Okay, so in this case, as we did it with the other with the slot that we did for lap number 1, so in this case this has to be all the way through cut, so we're gonna have to make this part to go. I think that's visible. Okay, we're gonna make this I'm gonna try to make this go all the way through, so besides placing it somewhere around that mark. Okay, so let me just also lock the carrier. So this is accumulating chip, just be careful with that, make sure that you lock this. Right, slug is not moving back and forth, so we're good. This is also locked. Okay, it was getting loose a little bit, and let me just double check that. Okay, there we are. All right, so, and since this is gonna be dip cut, and we're gonna start having some issues with the heating, so I recommend you adding some oil. And again, keep on adding small marks little by little. One good practice would be to have something to hold the part from folding. Sorry, it's gonna fold, so something to have like a cushioning to hold the part once it's done. So I'm gonna try to do that. I'm working here by myself, so but since you're gonna be working in teams, I think this could be this could be like a easier operation for you to do. So again, let's use our 500, and let's start getting the cutter in. Okay, I kind of cut it the video because it was taking me a long time to get through this depth, and I didn't want you to have just like a lot of time just seeing this. But so far we are at that position for the cutting slab. So I'm gonna keep on moving in. This, and I'm gonna place this piece of paper at the bottom to hold it. Since we're getting closer to that point that is gonna get all the way through, I'm gonna reduce the speed a little bit. And just be careful with the chips. Sometimes the chips that aluminum produces are very long, and they tend to be very messy, and you don't want that, like, just for instance, accumulated and suddenly just flying into your head. Of course, I've been doing this with the protective glasses. You're going to have a set to do this. And probably it's not quite visible there. I hope it is. We're getting to a part that we are just having a very small amount of aluminum. And right now we reduce the velocity from the almost 500 to 240 RPMs to control the cutting better, and also to avoid any weird happening on this. And we're almost done with that. Alright, I'm gonna stop it, because I think now that you can see that it's wiggling. Let me just remove this, and now there you have it. Okay, so over there we have a small knob of material, but over here we have pretty much what we needed. Okay, so the next step is, now that you have this length checked, this length checked, this length checked, you have one mark right there. That is where we're going to need to do the facing of this section. Okay, and of course for that we're going to need to remove the remainder of the stock material that you're going to use for the other lap, for the third part, or depending on how you were assigned to do the laps, probably you're going to start with lap number 2 or lap number 3. But I'm just hoping you're watching the videos on the sequence. Okay, so removing the material, we already did something similar in a previous one of the videos of this series. Okay, so I'm gonna remove it, and I'm gonna position this other one, and we're gonna start the video from that point.